everybody, welcome back. We are here with another episode of Where Have You Been Lately with Kendra and
Dan.
And we're here at the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. And we're in a slightly different setting than usual for our Where Have You Been Lately. We usually hang out in the diner when we do this, but today we decided to come up here into our carriage factory, which is a really cool building and a cool part of the museum. And again, I can't stress it enough. If you have not been to the museum, you need to make the time to get here and definitely see this part of the building. So we're up here because Dan suggested it because I think it has something to do with where have you been lately?
Yeah.
So where have you been lately?
Where have I been? Okay. Local, real local. Like it says it's a mile from here, but
Is it?
I think it's a little more, I think it's more like a mile and a half. Okay.
I'll go with that.
Bahr's Mill, which is in Gabelsville, which is just that way. Okay. So if you go out that door and you follow
Just keep walking.
Okay. If you're leaving from Boyertown going towards Ole, you're going Route 73 west, about a mile or so, and you come to the Gabelsville athletic place where there's a baseball field and stuff. You make a left turn, go about a block, you come to the stop sign, you make a right turn, and you go about a half mile. It's pretty much right in front of you. If you don't make if there's a fork in the road, if you keep going straight, you're going to end up in the mill. There's
a fork in the road and you better take it.
Right, Yogi.
That's right.
Okay. So anyway, it's Bahr's Mill. Bahr, and I stopped in there, and it's very interesting. The person running it, Ed Miller, he doesn't own it, but he really takes care of it. He kind of knows everything in there, and he was explaining everything, and I was there with him for about 2 hours, hour and a half, something like that. And anyway, they figure that building was built in the 1860s as a linseed oil mill.
Oh.
And I had to think, linseed, what do you use linseed oil for?
Wood, right?
Well,
is it clean or?
Keep going. You're on a roll.
Clean. I'm done. I don't go any further than that.
Well, no. Okay. Well, anyway, I looked it up, and
Polish.
I wasn't sure about linseed oil. I've heard about linseed oil and such, and it's from the flax plant.
Okay.
And so whatever's left over, you get flax, and what do you use flax for? I think you can weave things out of it and that kind of stuff. But anyway, that wasn't that. It was a linseed oil. So they kind of grind things up, and you had to take, it's not really grinding, but you have two wheels that come together, a lot of pressure, and the oil would come out. And linseed oil was produced in this country since 1793.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay. Up until World War I, it was principal ingredient for protective coatings. It was a drying oil vehicle. That's the way it was described. For paints, varnishes, enamels, linoleum, shoe polish, printing inks, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Wow. So everything.
Yeah. Okay. And I noticed during World War II, the United States sent linseed oil to Russia to augment food supplies. Apparently, the people in that part of the world liked linseed oil with their food.
Huh.
Yeah.
Like a cooking oil, maybe? Like a...
Who knows? Russia was desperate in need of food back then. So during World War II, we were sending a lot of supplies to that country, and that was one of them. Okay, that was then. That's your whole brief history of linseed oil. Okay, so.
There you go.
And I wasn't to Russia. Okay, that wasn't part of where I've been. Okay, so in 1897, remember, Bahr's Mill was made in the 1860s, so 30 some years after that, they converted it to a woodworking mill. And so it was pretty much where they made wood products, certain wood products. And it's interesting because if you go there, it's like a little community now. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been there. And Ed was telling me that right across the street was a sawmill. So they would get logs there and cut them up. And then the lumber would go to the wood mill where they would make the products. And I remember that sawmill there in a very dilapidated, fallen apart state, 20 years ago. And according to Ed, he was telling me the owner of the wood mill saw the condition of the sawmill, which eventually got totally demolished and is not there anymore. He did not want that to happen to the Bahr's mill, and so he bought the property and is preserving it, which I think is great. It's a big stone building. It looks it's neat looking. The inside's like sitting in here. You get that old wood smell and such. But I'm glad that somebody's there to preserve it. Ed also pointed out across the street there's a pavilion. There's a little baseball park there now, a little baseball field for like t-ball or something. He says that used to be a pond there that they used for making ice in the wintertime.
Oh.
And then right next to it is a pavilion. I guess they use that with the baseball field. And there was a blacksmith shop there. Next to that, there is a building. There's what they used to call Bahr's store. There's a little country store there. That used to be a what was it now? That was a leather shop. And then he mentioned where the barn is, and I think Geringer's Electric's in there now, and there was some other shop in there too. So there's all these little shops, and it's just this little town, and it's not like you're way out in the middle of nowhere.
No.
You're only a little over a mile from a relatively decent-sized town in Boyertown. So that was kind of surprising, but it hasn't changed that much. So you can imagine what this look. You just stand there and look at this. Okay. So anyway, some of the products at Bahr's Mill was axe handles, baseball bats, and they have up in the rafters, they have all these templates for stuff. And you can put like a baseball bat template in a machine. It's a duplicating machine, and as it's spinning, it is now carving a regular piece of lumber into a baseball bat, okay? Or an axe handle, or a rake handle, or this, or that, and that. And they got hundreds of these templates up there.
Wow.
There must be 300-400 different things. And so that was kind of interesting. But the most important stuff, and that's why I'm talking about that today, is they made wooden spokes. And there was all the templates, and you figure you have wooden spokes, you have some that are this size. The back wheel of this carriage has larger spokes because it's a larger diameter wheel. You had different thickness. This is a light duty buggy here, so you have kind of thin spokes, but we have some heavy duty ones further back, and the Conestoga that's on display.
Even the stagecoach behind us is a heavier duty one.
So we figure the spokes that were made in Bahr's Mill were made for this item right here. Except, I'm just thinking now, what year is this?
So this is the doctor's buggy. This would be 1872.
72. So they were still doing the linseed oil thing.
But this would have at the time in 1897 been the Boyertown Carriage Works.
Right. So this buggy was made right here in this room. Okay? But I'm looking at all the spokes on all the vehicles around us here, and I'm thinking they could have all came from there.
Yeah.
And, this could have been a replacement wheel, which would have came from there. So they were making the spokes there in baseball bats and axe handles and shovel handles and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And some of the original machinery is still there. Everything's belt driven. So if you come here to our museum, right here beyond the camera, we have a little machine shop set up. It's all belt driven, and we start it up once in a while, and everything's real compact in there just for demonstration. But you go Bahr's Mill, you got machines all over, and Ed started them up, and you just kind of stand there and keep your hands in your pocket because there's these belts kind of flapping around and stuff. But it's neat, and they have some of the original advertising for these machines, or a catalog page for the machines, so you can
Wow.
see thing. And they had one machine, and I forget what it was now. It had advertisement, and it shows like a 10-year-old boy operating it. So it's safe enough for him, but it's something that was not a real safe-looking machine either.
No, I don't think so.
And I was looking at one. It's
They have little fingers, though. That is one of the reasons they liked using kids to operate these machines. Yeah.
Gleason's spoke tenon machine, which is Jay Gleason, a manufacturer out of Philadelphia, and they made the tenons, which is a little projection. You can't see it, but it would be beyond the edge of this spoke going into the felloe here, okay? And it was a little machine to make that. You had another machine to make this end of them, all over the place, and it was just
Wow.
neat stuff.
Wow.
I'm trying to think. They had, right now they have like a small electric motor hooked up to everything, and they can have things operating. Originally, there was a water wheel. There was a pond about a half mile up the woods, through the woods. They kind of cleared it out. You could walk up there, which I didn't, which is one of these things I'll have to do this summer. You can walk up this lane through the woods, and there's a pond. Ed was saying it was like a couple acres in size, which is a fairly large pond.
Wow.
And but the dam got washed away in a flood in the 30s. So I remember previous owners of the mill telling me they hooked the truck up, and off the wheel of the truck they operated all the machinery. But they still have the water wheel there, and you can look at it, and I'm thinking, it must be 20 feet in diameter, or
big.
15 feet.
Yeah.
And you look down and you can see how everything operates. And it's just neat. And Ed gave a really good tour to me. I've known Ed for years, but I have a feeling even if you were a complete stranger, he'd give you pretty much the same tour.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting, and it's kind of like the old stuff we have here. You can look at it, you can figure out how things are working and stuff. And so there you go. They have a sign out front, and they said, open the first and third Sunday from May to October or something. And did I have that written down? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Okay,
Yeah.
from noon to 4. But Ed told me, he says, pretty much anytime you see the door open, just stop. And I think he likes hanging out there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there on one of those Sundays between May and October. I was there on a Sunday in April. And well, it was also because I saw him the day before, and I says, hey, you're going to be out there? Yeah, I'll be there.
Can you let me in?
So that's it. And you can go there, and it's just a neat little place, and it's a little country town, just a fun little thing.
I haven't, I drive by there every day on my way to and from work. I pass it, and they've done a lot of work. You can tell, I'm sure they've done a lot of work on the inside. You can tell from the outside that they've been working on it. It's probably been 15 years since I was there.
Okay.
So I need to go check it out now that it's...
That's when Lisa had it, I guess.
Yeah. And Earl was there. Remember Earl?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Leary.
one of the, he volunteered there and ran stuff, and I remember going there with him, and interesting place. They do, I think they did an event last year, and I'll have to look for the date. I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the museum's Facebook page, but the Historical Society does a Day at the Mill event out there. They did it last year. It went really well. I guess they're going to do it again this year. One of our blacksmithed there at the event last year, and I think he plans on doing that again.
Okay.
So it is a neat little place. It's cool, and it's neat that it's survived and they're taking care of it.
And I like it because you look at the machinery there, and you come here and you can see these complete wheels, and you think, okay, this was made a mile from here.
Yeah.
And I think even more important, even if it was made clear across the country, to realize how they made these things.
All the work
we're
that
looking
went
at
into
the
that one
machines and
piece.
stuff. Yeah, and it's really neat. So, I went to a place once where they actually made wooden spoke wheels
Cool.
out in, I believe it was Hanover, Pennsylvania. And yeah, a guy gave me a tour of his whole place.
Wow.
They were for automobiles, but
Yeah.
the same.
Still, same
a lot of the-
principle.
yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Okay.
Bahr's Mill is a neat little place, so check
Yep.
it out.
So that's
definitely.
where I've been.
That's where you've
lately.
been? Lately.
Yeah.
So come back next time. We'll find another cool destination for you to check out while you're driving around. And until then, we hope you come visit us at the museum and check out the carriage factory and all these spokes. We're surrounded by spokes. See you next time.